It's a very difficult balance. You're always a mom, you're always the candidate, you're always employed wherever it is that you might be employed. You don't get to say, well, today I'm going to be 25% of any of those things. You're 100% of all of them.
We confide in each other. We have sisters. Some of us are in, unique women's groups that organize communities. So it's important that we be at the table because our life experience is very different than a man's.
When this office became open for the job for state representative was available for someone to run for it, I thought that's a really good way for me to be able to move to another level, to be able to help people even more. This job really is all about helping people.
The 2018 general election resulted in a record number of women being elected to the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, the largest number in Pennsylvania history. For the first time, approximately a quarter of the 203 legislative districts are being served by women legislators. This signaled a momentous changing trend. Until that election in 2018, fewer than 200 women had ever held seats in the state house, while in that same 336-year period, 15,000 men had served as elected representatives.
I have not been denied a role in a committee. I have not been denied a role in having my voice heard on a public policy issue that I wanted to be involved in. Because I was a woman, ever. And I think that speaks to the changes that many other women before me made.
The women here, maybe 40 years ago, were not treated as colleagues, but rather the assistants or the secretaries. If there's a room full of men and one woman, she'd have to take the notes. That doesn't happen here today.
Women first became candidates for the Pennsylvania General Assembly in 1922. That year, 38 women ran for Pennsylvania House seats, and 8 won. They were all Republicans: Alice M. Bentley, Rosa S. DeYoung, Lily H. Pitts, and Martha G. Spicer, all of Philadelphia. There also were Sarah McCune Gallagher of Cambria County, Helen Grimes of Allegheny County, Sarah Gertrude McKinney of Butler County, and Martha G. Thomas of Chester County. The women in the Pennsylvania House have diverse backgrounds. They've had different personal and business experiences, different educations. They may have gone into politics for different reasons, but they all share the responsibility of being effective leaders and role models for Pennsylvania's youth. And they all want to make a difference in their respective communities and to tackle challenges they feel are critical to the future of the entire state.
It was because of my love for politics and my interest in politics. So that's how it all began. But more than that, it was my community activism, very active in my community, came very easily to me because my mother, I followed in her footprints.
I look at myself as an ordinary person. And so I think I represent typical people out there that are concerned about a safe place to raise their family, about the economy, about taxation, and I also had a strong sense of volunteering. Whenever there was an opportunity to volunteer, I've always stepped up and liked to be engaged in the community.
I just kept pushing and seeing which area I could be most effective. And little did I know that in politics, you can be instrumental in helping a lot of people, especially in impoverished areas, get back on their feet. And so that's what got me here, and that's what's keeping me here.
I like the part that you get to help people. I like being involved in the community. I like understanding what motivates people and what makes your community work. And that was part of my interest. But I think it was really just something that was always part of me.
I saw a need as a single mother that there were a lot of areas that weren't being addressed for people, such as education, childcare, and some other mechanisms.
I think most of the legislators in this building will tell you that that's the same for them as well. They never really planned on being a legislator, but life leads you to different things after your experience with work and then living in your community and having a family, and then you start to really understand what it means to be able to effectuate change.
I have been a fierce advocate for marginalized communities, for communities of color, as well as low to moderate income people. I come from the suburbs, but still those are folks that are working hard every day, that are still struggling, that still don't have the economies of scale that they need in order to do the things that they would like to do for their family.
Women legislators do not share the same opinion on the issues that shape Pennsylvania law and public policy. They do, however, agree that women bring unique strengths to the office and that it's necessary to recruit more women into state government. The women who serve do so out of a desire to make Pennsylvania a better place. Many started their careers as nurses, small business owners, teachers, and public servants. They take their real-world experience and apply them to the legislation they consider and to the assistance they lend to their constituents back home.
My honest opinion, what we bring to the table, common sense. Common sense and a different perspective. I think we as women are more about, we're more nurturing, we are more about getting things done, we are more about compromise.
As a general statement, women are more thoughtful about the process, who gets in the way of that process, and how we might be able to build those relationships and get to where the end needs to be.
When you have more female voices and more females at the table, research has shown that things move better, things move quicker, companies are more profitable, and legislation that would not normally get passed will get passed.
Women need to understand that they have a strong role that they can offer to government at any level, and they should feel confident about what they bring to the table. And I think the world is ready for the woman and the men to work together and do good things. So we're in a good spot.
There are real issues that women as mothers, as sisters, as grandmothers, as daughters actually really care about. And I think that's one of the things that I try to get out there, is that these are things you already know something about.
Once I got into college, becoming a youth leader at my church and really getting involved with younger children, helping them see dreams and achieve goals. And once I got into law school, it was no question that I needed to have a career in public interest and public service.
I spent 15 years helping small business owners grow their companies, working on job creation, working on environmental issues. And through that role, I started to advocate for policy change. And the more and more I saw the people making the policy decisions, the more and more frustrated I got. I didn't think that there was anyone in Harrisburg who represented the issues that I cared about.
Women were first elected into leadership roles in the Pennsylvania House with the 1959-1960 session. Mary Varallo was elected the Democratic whip, and Marion Markley was elected the Republican caucus secretary. Eleanor Taylor was elected to leadership for 6 sessions, more than any other woman to date. In 2015, Rosita Youngblood was the first African-American woman to hold a leadership position in the House, serving as the Democratic caucus secretary.
The House and the General Assembly was formed in 1682. It took 232 years to have a person that looks like me of color in leadership, so that's the greatest victory. It's also an asset that can be shared, that other young girls and women can also achieve this.
I was very blessed and fortunate to have overwhelming support from my colleagues who, didn't try to stay in a box. And it wasn't just from one side of the state. I called every single person and they said, Joanna, I want to give you a chance to show us how well you can lead this caucus as the chairman.
With those who have retired, it brought in my class now, the class of 2006, that many of us now were able to go into a chairmanship. So that's how it evolved for me after 13 years. And lucky for me, I get to chair children and youth, and that's near and dear to my heart. With my expertise in teaching, and I taught kindergarten through 7th grade, and as I said, being a professor, all that book knowledge now, when you compare book knowledge with reality, it all is such an asset, I believe, to this committee.
Even though the number of women representatives has grown, there are still some challenges to women running for office. Some stay away because of practical concerns, such as time away from home and their families. And while many say discriminatory attitudes towards women in politics are negligible, some believe even seemingly minor acts can discourage female participation.
A lot of research talks about, women need to be asked more. Women tend to be less demanding in terms of, pushing up the socioeconomic ladder than their male counterparts.
We laugh about, some of the challenges women have from the very, very small women's room we have at the back of the House floor that I think in the past was a closet and they converted it into a ladies' room. So, we'll grouse about things like that, and some of the challenges, even walking on heels on our amazing and beautiful tile floors here. Some folks were like, especially, I found it interesting, a lot of the older gentlemen would say, you know what, I want you to go to Harrisburg. The men have been running it long enough. I think we should send a woman. You sound like you have common sense, and you're going to be able to get those guys in shape.
A lot of time the focus won't be put on your career or your experience or even your education. The focus is put on the type of suit you have on and how your hair is styled and what types of shoes are those.
I think one of the things that is really difficult for women who want to run for office these days is fundraising. Fundraising can be very difficult for a woman. Believe it or not, larger checks will be written for a male candidate. This makes it very difficult in high-priced markets, especially from a media market standpoint, for a woman candidate to be successful.
I have a story as to knocking on a door, and a man came. He was probably in his 60s, and he came to the door, and I introduced myself and said, I'm Cheryl Delozier, I'm running for state representative, and I ask for your vote. And he looked at me and goes, no. I said, why? And he said to me, he goes, women don't belong in politics.
I was almost removed from my seat on the House floor. A security guard thought that I was a staffer sitting in the seat of a member, and my colleague, Mary Jo Daly, had to intervene before he got to me and tried to remove me from the floor. I was also sent to the wrong bathroom, not the bathroom for members, but the bathroom for visitors. They saw me as a young woman, and obviously I couldn't be a member of the legislature.
While the numbers have improved, the challenge remains to bring the female-male balance in the House in line with the general population. Today, more than half of Pennsylvanians are women.
To have a truly representative government, our legislators should look like the people who we serve. I think our legislature won't truly reflect that until it's 50% women. That's my goal.
I do have young women come and intern with me or ask to interview me. When they do that, very often they are interested in their own future, possibly running for office. I always tell them, prepare yourself, make sure that you've been involved in the workforce for a number of years, you've involved in community projects, but do run for office. We need you. We need good women running for office. You have a perspective that's important.
Perhaps one of the world's most respected female politicians summed it up best.